What's going on, gang? Brian Maxwell checking in out here at Orlando Volkswagen North. I know it's been a hot second since I chimed in. Let me make sure I get some better lighting. I know it's been a hot second since I chimed in and got a chance to talk with everybody, but we're going to talk a little bit right now. So hopefully your month been going well. But let's talk about how to handle certain objections, because I know over the last couple of weeks, a lot of people have been messaging me about having issues with objections and with getting people in on social media. Let me make sure I get some better lighting so we can talk and y'all can see me. Let's start off with talking about the objections, okay? Now, when it comes to the objections, let's think about it. There's only 5 common objections that you're going to get from people. The price is too high. I want to shop around. I want to think about it. I like to talk to my spouse, and I want more for my trade, okay? So let's get into talking about the trade, for example, because you all know when a customer comes in with their vehicle, a lot of times what they're expecting is a lot different than what the dealership is willing to give. Now, understand this one thing when it comes to trades and vehicles of people. Their trade a lot of times have what's called sentimental value. So it means that the vehicle may be in such bad shape that you wouldn't piss on it if it was on fire. Nobody could give it to you if it was free. But this individual believes that it's worth significantly more than what it actually is. They're not judging it based on the body style, the mileage, the nicks, the dings, the scratches, none of that. The value that they see in it many times come from the personal experiences that they've had with that vehicle. You know, might have been the last vehicle their mother or father gave them before they passed away. Maybe the first vehicle they bought of their own. Maybe the first vehicle they bought when they came back from the military. Maybe the vehicle that they bought when their first child was born. It could be the vehicle that their children were conceived in. We don't know what the actual sentimental value of that vehicle is. And number 2, let me explain something. Here's the main reason why there's such a disconnect between what the customer wants and what the dealership is willing to give, and how that customer is upset or unsatisfied. When we speak about trade, if I told you I was going to trade you my cell phone for your cell phone, what are you going to be expecting? Now, if you said something of equal or greater value, you're right. And that's what most people would expect. And the automotive industry is the slowest transitioning industry when it comes to certain terminology. Now, when we use the word trade, what that implies to a customer is that we are making an exchange, and what I'm getting in return is of equal or greater value. And let's face it, what the customer gets for their trade or when they sell their vehicle to the dealership is a lot different, like I stated earlier, than what it is that they wanted or expected. So when they drive home in a new vehicle, it's not a fair trade. And that's why a lot of times customers feel unsatisfied when they're utilizing a trade, because they got nowhere near for it what they expected. And a lot of that is triggered and it started by the way we present it and the way we ask. Now, one of the things, I'm a firm believer in utilizing what's called pattern interrupts. And that's where you take something that's used commonly, that's more well-known and popular, and you deviate from it. Okay, you do something completely different that is totally uncommon. And the reason why that's good is for one of 2 things. Number 1, the customer is expecting this one set way. You know, they're expecting you to ask, hey, what do you want from your trade, or blah, 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 to use that word. And so they're prepared that when somebody says that word trade, they're not going to be willing to accept what's being offered. They're going to go back and forth because they know that customers get screwed on the trade. But here, if you try this word track that's being used by sales professionals across the country, they've all told me that they have reduced and in some cases completely eliminated the back and forth with people when it comes to the trade. And here's how. When they sit down and they're talking to them, as opposed to saying, hey, what do you want for your trade? For one, when you ask them what they want, they're going to give you that number. And that's the number that's going to be stuck in their head. So when you come back with a lower number, guess what? They're going to think you're trying to screw them, and you're going to be in that same old shady car salesman or car saleswoman. But if when you're talking to a person, you utilize this, you say, hey, listen, I saw you all drove in an SUV. What type of SUV is that? 2015 Chevy Tahoe. Really? Now, let me ask you a question. Are you all interested in selling that? Because we may be interested in buying it. Are you interested in that? Well, yeah, we may be interested in that. Awesome. Here's what I'm going to do. You and I are going to speak for a little bit. I'll ask you a few more questions. And then while we're looking at a vehicle, I'll get one of my managers to take a look at it, and we'll at least be able to share with you what we may be willing to buy it for. How do you feel about that? Boom. Now, if you listen to what I said, I asked them, just to make sure what they were driving, I'm accurate on it. They shared it with me. And then I asked them, hey, are you looking to sell that? Because we may be interested in buying it. Because if you really think about it, when a person has a trade, what happens with it? What's going on in the deal? What's going on in the deal is that it is literally a buy and sell transaction. It's not a trade. The dealership buys the vehicle and will apply whatever those monies are to the person's deal. And if they have a balance on their vehicle, guess what? The dealership pays it off for them. Okay? So it actually is a buy and a sell transaction. And by using the words, hey, are you looking to sell that? Because we may be interested in buying it. Guess what word I never said? Trade. And then guess what else? I said, hey, well, let's do this. You and I are going to speak a little bit more. I'll ask you a few more questions. Then I'll get one of my managers to go out there and take a look at it. And that way we'll at least be able to share with you what we may be willing to buy it for. So we'll at least share with you what we may be willing to buy it for. Not what we are, but what we may. So two, guess what I did? I eliminated asking the customer what they wanted for the trade. Because in reality, does it really matter what they want? Because they're going to get whatever the dealership is willing to give them. And so I eliminated utilizing the word trade where it can trigger them expecting an equal or greater value exchange. And I eliminated asking them how much they wanted for the trade because I didn't want that number stuck in their head. Okay, so I highly encourage you that if you run into issues with the trade, that you just switch up your word track, utilize a pattern interrupt. And as opposed to asking them what they want and this, that, and the other, eliminate the word trade totally. And say, hey, listen, are you looking to sell your vehicle? Are you looking to sell that Chevy 2015 Chevy Tahoe? Because we may be interested in buying it. I get questions on that all the time. Ask them. And if when they say, yeah, awesome, we're going to finish talking a little bit. I'm going to ask you a few more questions. And then I'm going to get one of my managers to go out there, take a look at it. And that way we'll at least be able to share with you what we may be willing to buy it for. I didn't say what we are, what we may be. Words are everything. They have power. And these people are hanging on your every word, okay? So you want to make sure that you utilize the right word tracks when you're going about it. And I assure you, when you utilize the buy and sell versus the trade, watch what it does. It'll work wonders for you. All right. So I just wanted to jump in. I've been on the road so much the last few weeks. I apologize, folks, for being out for a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Rocking and rolling and not posting. But I'm back on my post game. Okay. So make sure that you like, share, hate, or comment. If you like what I said and you agree with it, post a comment. If you dislike what I said and you disagree with it totally, tell me about it. If you hate what I said, you can't stand my voice, post a comment on it. And if you aren't already a member of the channel, make sure you join the movement. I'm Brian Maxwell. Oh, and by the way, make sure that you click the link in the description because right now, for a limited time, what I have, every single thing that I share with you, if you've been looking for training, if you've been looking for ways to leverage social media, drive business, if you've been looking for ways to close more deals at your dealership, lucky thing for you is you're watching this video because the link that's in the description and the link that's in the comment section will take you over to where there is hours and hours, over 10 hours of audio and video on how to take a person from your greeting all the way to where you're getting that paperwork signed and you're programming their phone into the vehicle for them to go home. You also have access to the total complete program of the step-by-step guide on how to leverage Facebook to really find and start driving people in your area who are looking for the product you offer. Folks, this is real. And if you want to know if what I'm doing is right and I know what I'm doing, how do you think you got here? Out of all of the millions of videos on YouTube, guess what? You're watching mine right now. And so the proof is in the pudding, but you got to treat yourself. Don't cheat yourself. Click the link in the description or click the link in the comment section. Go over there and check it out because where else can you have access to the tools that will help you make $100,000 a year? So if you're looking, it's there. There's no more excuses on you not having access to it. All you got to do is click the link. Other than that, I'm Brian Maxwell, and I look forward to seeing you at the dealership. Over and out, gang.